Hello, and welcome to ReSync, an Assassin's Creed podcast. It's your boy Landon, joined by your other boy Lucas. What's up, buddy?
I'm doing pretty good. How about you?
I didn't ask. I just said, "What's up?"
Oh. Gaming and stuff.
Hell yeah. Yeah, just a little side note. These past couple weeks has been a little choppy, a little dicey because of Lucas's busy schedule. Well, the one time he actually plays at a decent time, and this man accidentally played 2 sequences.
That's my bad. I saw the sequence 4 complete pop up, and I was like, mistakes were made. But
he's definitely ready for next week.
I'm ready for next week.
So that's fair. So he's good. He texted me while I was at work last night. I had a missed call because man can never seem to know when I'm working, even though
I literally hit the call, and I looked at the time, and I hung up. And I texted
you. Very fair. But I saw a bunch of text messages about like, when does sequence 3 end? And they're like, oh wait, okay, so I might have actually played sequence 4.
And I was like, I definitely played sequence 4.
So man's is a little ahead, but we're here now. Sequence 3, and it's a great time. I'm super excited. I'm super happy about all this. But before we get into it, got a couple quick things. We got a bunch of Assassin's Creed Shadows news. But real quick before we get into that, I wanted to go over the trivia from last week, which I asked you guys, what is the most expensive dye in Florence? When you go to the dye shops, what is, the most expensive one, the most premium dye, essentially? And quick shout out to M. Malarkey over on YouTube, who actually gave the correct answer, as this is Florentine Crimson. So it's actually the dye that I'm currently rocking with. I'm pretty sure, because I think there was a dye shop. No, I don't think so. I was trying to remember if there was one in Tuscany. There might have been, but I don't think I visited. So I do think that is the dye that I'm currently wearing still. I don't think I've changed it. I've been doing it for the past couple sequences. But
yeah, I have the emerald dye now.
Hey, good stuff. But yeah, fun time. But anywho, that was our little trivia question for the week. Once again, congrats to Mr. Malarkey for getting that. Or should I say, Joe Biden? I know who you are. But anyway, get into the Assassin's Creed Shadows news. So, if you weren't aware, a bunch of creators were allowed to preview the game like last week, the week before. I think it was a couple weeks ago at this point. And on the 23rd, they were then allowed to discuss the preview. And for the most part, very positive. It seems like a lot of people were saying, I watched IGN's preview, and they said that essentially this is them perfecting the RPG formula. And that, there's a lot of great things about Origins, Odyssey, Valhalla, all that stuff, but a lot of it was kind of like testing out like the RPG and kind of finding their footing in this new genre. This seems to be a culmination of that effort and doing a good job of bringing in different aspects of their action-adventure roots and, kind of optimizing this new formula that they've been cultivating for the last 10 years almost. And so it's really exciting. There are some people that are a little less, enthused about it, but the overall impressions seem generally positive. And what are your thoughts about all the new information we've gotten over the last week?
Based on some of the clips I've seen and some of the stuff I've heard people say, I'm actually a little bit excited. Probably the most excited I've been for an Assassin's Creed game since, I want to say Valhalla. No, not Valhalla. Odyssey.
Okay, I was about to say, I'm like, Valhalla's not that long ago.
No, Odyssey, and then I didn't like Odyssey that much, so that was a letdown. But I'm hoping that this, just based on the movement and the way Nawe moves, and it felt right.
Yeah, I really dig the combat in that game.
Yeah.
I think it looks really sick because again, one of my biggest concerns with Shadows is that it's gonna feel too much like Ghost of Tsushima and how to differentiate itself a little bit better. And like one of the things is like the combat, because how do you top? Because I just Ghost of Tsushima's combat is so good, is so good, and I don't think Shadows can live up to that. I don't really have a lot of faith that they can top that, and so I think the difference is how they're going to essentially pivot on that, and I think they might have done that here with both the way that the combat animations look spectacular. There's some sick moves in Shadows. Like, they're cool. They're sick. They have a lot of flourish. And again, this is not to discredit Tsushima, but like, again, they have some really different animation in here that I really enjoy. And I'm glad they did that. I think that helps distinguish it a little better. And then also in just like, I think they have a lot more like stealth-based mechanics with Nawe than Tsushima had, because one of the biggest like criticisms of Ghost of Tsushima is that a lot of the stealth elements aren't super great.
They're pretty generic.
Yeah, and so like seeing Shadows really try to invest a lot into those mechanics is super great.
As it should, because it used to be the best in the biz.
Exactly. So, happy to see that, again, like there are still some people that are like, I don't know, Jake Baldino from Game Ranks has said he's very similar to Lucas in that he has not been a fan of the RPG games. He is still kind of like riding that fence there where it's like, yes, it's cool and everything, but it's just not really the Assassin's Creed that he wants. And so, that's fair and valid, and I can easily see that being the case, but I think judging it on its own merits, it seems to be shaping up to be a really, really great game, and I cannot be more excited at this point. We are just shy of 2 months away, and yeah, it's very exciting. I'm gonna be there.
I'm excited, and I'm actually gonna play it probably when it comes out pretty early. Which I haven't touched an Assassin's Creed game, so this will be interesting.
You actually pretty consistently touch an Assassin's Creed game.
Okay. A new one. I haven't touched a new one since Odyssey.
That's fair. Like I said, I'm really excited. I know it's going to be forever, but I'm really excited for Lucas to start playing Valhalla because I think he's really going to like it. Maybe not as an Assassin's Creed game, but as a Viking game, so good.
I do like me a good Viking game.
It's so good. It's just stupid long. It's stupid long. It's to the point where it's a negative. Because, my God, it's the same problem I have with Red Dead Redemption 2. Like, 30% of players, and I think that's generous, beat the game. Because it's so freaking long. It's a masterpiece. Yeah. But it's so long.
It's one of the... It actually is the greatest game I've ever played.
That's wild. I mean, it's definitely up there, don't get me wrong. But that is a little wild.
In terms of, like, the story and just... That is, next is God of War.
Fair. Very fair. I'm okay with both of those answers. But, yeah. Another one, Assassin's Creed 2, which is what we've been playing. And so, absolutely phenomenal game. How are you feeling now? Sequence 3 feelings only, please.
I'm feeling like we're learning how to be a fucking assassin. This sequence.
Yeah, that's fair.
We're getting the ropes down. We're dialing in, and the combat is a lot better than the first couple sequences. I think
that is very true. Very true. Yeah,
it's a lot more flow and
you're adding some depth in there because I mean honestly in the first 2 sequences we haven't really experienced a whole lot of combat. They've been very like very enclosed, like orchestrated examples, like very tutorialized, and so we're starting to open up a bit more, get a bit more of a feel for the overall combat and how that functions.
They throw some enemies at you too in this one.
That's true.
Like a decent amount.
That's true.
And it is use of fun stealth, and
that's fair. Yeah, but real quick before we get into the nitty gritty of it, I did also want to mention, and I forgot because I get a little loosey goosey with this stuff. that we finally got some more news on the Animus Hub, which was previously revealed as Assassin's Creed Infinity. So I was like, I think I've said on the podcast before that I was a little skeptical that this was still going to be a thing, because throughout the entire marketing cycle of Shadows thus far, they had never brought up Infinity, or if they did, it was always very small and no real updates. And so it felt like it was something that they just either didn't know what to do or wasn't sure about, or maybe it canceled. I think especially because of just the state of the live service industry right now, in that pretty much everyone flops, save for the occasional one or two. I'm wondering if that has kind of affected Ubisoft's strategy towards it, that they didn't want to put too much into it and risk public outrage, because it's just not going well for 90% of developers over the last decade. Nobody can really seem to figure out what Destiny's doing, including Destiny half the time. It's like I think it's fantastic how Bungie will have the greatest year ever and then have the most dog shit year the year after that consistently. It is a constant cycle of we're so back, it's so over. We're so back, it's so over. It's worse than the MCU. I mean, it's crazy how Destiny goes, but that's a whole nother tangent. But yeah, they finally talked about Animus Hub, which there's some really interesting stuff here. It does seem to be not quite as big as they had originally envisioned, and there's a lot of, we'll have more in the months and years to come type of lingo, which can, at this point, with how live service games go, that's never a confirmed or committed thing, because things flop, things shut down, who knows.
That's a we'll see how this goes answer.
Exactly. But we did finally get some information and some screenshots about that, if you want to look that up as well, about just the different parts of the Animus Hub, which has 4 separate areas. The first one is Memories, where you can access past Assassin's Creed games that you've purchased that are, before this new era of Assassin's Creed, which currently at launch are going to be Mirage, Valhalla, Odyssey, and Origins. So Origins and forward. Anything before that are not currently supported, but they have teased, quote, new features and content in the, quote, months and years to come. So, we will hopefully eventually get support for all of them, but essentially the Animus Hub is going to be similar to the Call of Duty launcher that they've been doing for the past few years, where you can just access all of your games from one place. And so that's kind of the main draw to the hub.
Yeah, so if you play on Steam, you have to use Steam, then you have to launch the Ubisoft Connect, and then that will launch you into that thing.
The Animus Hub.
Animus Hub. So, if you play it on PC, you get 3 launchers now.
Or if you play on console, you get 1. Because fuck you. Console's king.
PC Master Race.
Okay, enjoy your launchers.
I think they just need to get good. Start thinking about us a little more.
So the second area is projects, where you can access in-game missions for Assassin's Creed Shadows called Anomalies. And if you complete these missions, you'll unlock exclusive rewards through the platform, including new weapons, gear, data, files, and keys. And how keys work, which cannot be bought with real-life cash, so they were pretty adamant about we're not trying to make this microtransaction heavy, which is awesome.
That's actually badass.
Are used to buy rewards through the exchange section of the Animus Hub, which is updated with daily rewards tied to Assassin's Creed Shadows. And this will also translate to Codename Hex and other future Assassin's Creed installments. And so it's not going to be just Shadows. Again, this is the platform going forward for Assassin's Creed titles. Now, the last section is the Vault, which appears to be a lore dump for the modern-day storyline. Ubisoft has said this will be, quote, developed further as the hub evolves, although it doesn't mention if it will recap the very convoluted story from previous titles. And so, when they first announced back then Infinity, they had talked about this being the platform for the modern-day story, as they've never really known what to do with it post Assassin's Creed 3, and so it's been very convoluted. It's been very all over the place. And so rather than spending time devoting resources to fleshing that out in the games themselves, they've just removed it from the games entirely. As far as we are aware, Assassin's Creed Shadows will not feature any modern day storyline whatsoever. It'll now be just directly linked to the Animus Hub, which I don't know how I feel about, because it's like the thing of, oh, well, now all of your story is going to be basically like notes and like audio files and stuff like that, which is like it reminds me of like Black Flag, where it's just like you're looking for that stuff, and like, but like even less, because you're not even like walking around and doing any of that stuff. So I'm just like, man, how far we have fallen on that modern day storyline. It makes me bummed out, but I'm really hoping that like Shadows takes off and they can really invest more time and resources into building out this Animus Hub and have some cool things there and add things to the vault. Like actual missions would be really, really cool to just launch into some stuff there. Whether we'll get that, I don't know. But
don't mess it up.
I hope that, you know, this isn't just essentially the swan song of the modern day storyline.
I just feel like they've had so many opportunities to get that back on track, and they've just squandered them in every chance they've had.
Yeah. Except there is something I'll wait until after the podcast, because it is some light spoilers, but there is something that I actually did not know about. I believe it happened in Valhalla, either Valhalla and or Mirage. So it's pretty recent, that for the modern day storyline, which like I'm not 100% okay with, but like it is a step in the right direction that I actually really, really, really like. But I actually did not realize that until pretty recently. I found that out and I was like, oh, what? So there's pretty cool stuff, but we'll talk after. But basically, yeah, that's a lot of different news. And again, they had said that essentially the like premise of the Animus Hub, again, not that it's necessarily going to be a game itself, is that the Animus is now commercially available. And so the Animus Hub is like you yourself stepping into the Animus, because previously, you know, Abstergo's made like video games based off of like Animus data, but they've never actually released the Animus to the public. So the Animus Hub is like their way of like doing that, and so that's kind of how they're explaining it in universe. But that is supposed to launch with Shadows, so very exciting stuff. I'm really interested to check it out and see, and I'm curious about how interesting the rewards will be, because, you know, this is essentially their way to like incentivize it. They added some live servicey elements to Valhalla with like a lot of like events that they would update and things like that, like limited time things for stuff. So they kind of experimented a little bit in Valhalla with live service elements, and so I'm curious about like how much is going to be there, whether it's going to be something like worth doing, because, you know, as a huge Assassin's Creed fan, I would love for there to be like an actually like well thought out, well executed system of like weeklies and like different things to like give me incentive to keep playing this game that I love. It's just whether it's going to be worth it. Like, I don't want to feel like I have to grind this game every day to get my worth, because then it's just going to make me feel resentful to the game. Because if I'm doing the same thing over and over again, so if there's variety, if there's like worthwhile rewards to keep me playing, I'm so in. I'm down for that, because like as much as I don't want like an Assassin's Creed MMO or anything like that, like having just like consistent little things to like keep me in that universe and keep me like having fun, 100% down for. So I'm very interested to see how this goes and what kind of stuff they've got going on. How are you thinking about the Animus Hub?
I'm annoyed there's no launcher. I do think it's cool though that they are like with the challenges, like it's like you said, kind of just keeping you engaged. And I also have the same concerns. Like I don't want it to be a bunch of apple picking missions. Like go fetch a bunch of this shit. Like that would annoy the fuck out of me. It's like, okay, now I hand out. And like also, how do we know how weapons like work? Like in terms of like, is it like the RPG kind of way where
yes,
like,
the gear system is back. So you're getting like upgraded gear upgraded like armor, things like that.
Okay, so you're not like you don't get this weapon and it has like this much damage and like or whatever or
So they have the different weapon types, right? Like the katana, things like that.
Yeah.
But then there are like upgraded gear versions of that where they will do this much damage, this and this. It's the numbers. It's the
Okay.
same as Odyssey, Valhalla, all that. Like,
okay.
yeah.
Well, because I was just wondering because like are you gonna have to like grind to get like OP weapons or some bullshit? Like, is that gonna be a thing?
I mean,
that,
and
like,
potentially.
I wish I don't know. I just feel like that's kind of dumb.
Yeah. And again, I think it's okay as long as it's not used aggressively. And so it's a potential concern I have with the Animus Hub. But if executed properly,
Yeah,
could
like-
be really cool.
Like if the missions are badass, then I'm fine with that.
Right. Yeah, and I'm curious how much they're gonna, because like the Animus Hub has its own creative directors. Like it is its own like full-fledged thing. Like they have like an entire team, though obviously not like a full-fledged team, but they
Yeah.
do have a small team specifically working on the Animus Hub. So I'm really hoping that having the resources dedicated there will be able to kind of flesh it out a little bit better. That there's really cool I hope those anomalies missions are, like you said, like really fleshed out, really cool. I'm not expecting like these huge spectacles, but like again, like something interesting to chew on. You know, like I'm here for like I feel like, you know, like Assassin's Creed Shadows is your steak, it's your full meal, it's your, you know, multiple courses, whatever, and then the Animus Hub are your little snackies. You know, like your chips and your cookies and like little things like that. That's like, I'm okay with that. Like that seems like a cool thing to do. You've got like your full meal here and everything like that, and then you just get little snacks in between meals. You know what I mean? So like that setup can work. I'm just hoping they don't get greedy with it. They're thoughtful in what they do. I'm okay with waiting. I don't need to play the game every day. I know that's obviously what Ubisoft wants, but I'm okay with waiting. They can take their time as long as the result is good.
Yeah, and I don't want to do a bunch of goddamn apple picking.
Exactly. I don't want this thing padded out. So that's kind of my biggest concern, but I think the potential is there. But yeah, really exciting stuff. But we've spent quite a while talking about not Assassin's Creed 2 stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a big news week for Assassin's Creed. So a lot of cool stuff to talk about. But let's get into it proper.
It'll be a long night.
Assassin's Creed 2. And so we're in Toscana now. We've made it to the manor. Ezio is escorting Maria and Claudia to the Villa Auditore in Monteregione. However, Viero de Pazzi has returned to block them.
That bitch.
And tries to kill Ezio because he's like, you know what? Yeah, fuck you. And then, you know, tries to you know, assault them, but then Ezio's like, oh, fuck you.
Fuck you.
Starts fighting some back. And then he's like, you know what? Fuck you and your family. Kill the bitches too. And so then it just turns out into a little brawl, of which, you know, it is Ezio fighting against a dozen or so men. You know, I was holding my own. I personally think I would have been fine.
Yeah, I couldn't take it.
Yeah, exactly. Like, easy peasy. Who do you think you're talking to here? However, you are rescued by your uncle Mario, where we have another iconic
I
quote
forget
from
how
this
many
game.
iconic quotes are in this game until they happen.
He goes, "Do you not recognize me? It's a me, Mario."
It's so ridiculous.
Like, so many iconic quotes in this game.
I laughed so hard.
It's not even the only iconic quote in this sequence. But yes, fantastic quote. So he rescues him, drives off Viero's men, and yeah, you're reintroduced / we're introduced for the first time of Mario Auditore, who is just a phenomenal character.
He's
we
not
love
a plumber.
Mario. He's not a plumber, but he can sure get the job done because bro is a pretty good dude.
Yeah.
And so afterward, Ezio explores the Villa Auditore with Mario, where he tells Ezio he will be safe. And so this kind of sets up Monteregione as kind of a bit of a hub area for the game. This is where you always come back to. It's your home base of operations, and you get into the specifics of that later. But we're kind of this is home for us.
Yeah. Has your name on it.
Yeah. And so when realizing that Giovanni never told Ezio the truth, he sends him to get some gear in town while he prepares. And this is the first time that you actually like officially get some like armor upgrades in the game. You can't technically get it before, which like I said, I think I might have actually gotten some boots before or something like that. So I think I actually had something. But you can get some gear for the first time, upgrade some stuff. You get a dagger, which I pretty much immediately upgraded to a knife. and then I also toyed around with, I got that, I think it was the quick sword, and was messing with that for a while. And then I believe at the end of the sequence is when I got that hammer, and I don't think I've had a chance to try it out yet. But I did have that. I was using that quick sword for a little bit. I'm working my way up to the what is it? I think it's the Falcon. Is that one that's just like a really strong sword, but it's like ridiculously expensive.
Oh yeah, because it has like the Falcon hilt, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the stats are pretty nuts.
Yeah.
And so it's worth the price. But yeah, she's a little pricey. I'm working my way. I think my next thing was I was gonna start cleaning out some armor pieces because I bought a couple armor pieces. I don't have a full set yet, and so I think that was kind of my next thing that I was working towards, was getting that taken care of, getting me some upgrades then. Because also every time you upgrade your armor, you get an increase to your maximum health based on the stats of the armor. And so, got our health upgraded a little bit, got some gear up, like fleshing ourselves out a little bit more.
Becoming that assassin you're meant to be.
Exactly. And so, later Mario teaches Ezio how to fight. And so it kind of similar to the little like start of sequence stuff from the first game where you would go down to the training grounds and it would run through stuff. Did you ever check out the other tutorials that they had?
Nope.
So something I don't know, because again, it's been so long since I've played Assassin's Creed 2 proper outside of like the first sequence or two. I forgot that there are weapon-specific moves in the game where if you're using your fists, you can throw sand in people's faces.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, and then there are different combo moves for different weapons.
That's kind of cool.
And so, yeah, it's really interesting. Like, again, like all the way back in 2009, like thinking of Assassin's Creed, like, like the little things that they're already incorporating.
It's crazy that they already have that depth, yeah. Like,
yeah. And so, yeah, because I ran through all the different training courses. Officially, in this mission, you are taught how to evade, counter kill, and escape, which are all things pretty much. The evade is a little different because I don't think there was a dodge mechanic in the first game, was there?
There was, but you like, I feel like you jumped forward for some reason.
Oh yeah, you're right. You could strafe and you could dodge back and like things like that.
But this is a way better system for sure.
Yeah, 100%. The animations are a lot smoother.
Yeah,
there's
the
a bit
sidestepping
more of a flow.
is way easier to do. Like I could barely sidestep in the first game. This game I can just bloop, slice.
Yeah, I think in the first game it was sort of like when you evaded, you kind of like stepped in the world. It wasn't really reactive to the enemy AI. It was more so fixed on your location, and you would just make directional movements.
Like,
whereas it's now the evasion's a lot more tied to the enemy AI, and so instead of just going off to a specific area, it's going like to a degree off of where they're going, which it makes it a lot more responsive, and it definitely helps like smoothen it out a lot more.
Yeah.
And so, but yeah, the different things there. But yeah, I also then just ended up later running through all the different like training stuff, which a lot of it was very basic stuff. A lot of just really similar things. But again, like just trying to be that like completionist I am, I was like trying to go through all the different combos and just, really try to diversify, because a lot of times in games I will kind of find something I really like and just stick with that. And so I really, in this playthrough, want to try to get a wide breadth of different uses and, different ways of playing and try to get a full experience of it. So I ran through as many of those tutorials as I could. There were a few that were locked, and there's also ones that you can buy, which I thought was interesting. Like it costs gold.
Like you're like, hey trainer, pay me to learn this, or I'm going to pay you to teach me this move.
Yeah. I forget what they were, like which specific ones they were. I'll have to pay attention to that this time, and maybe we can talk about it next week. But yeah, there were tutorials that cost money, and I was like, interesting. But my thought was you could purchase counters, or not counters, well, potentially, but like different combo moves. And so it's like it's essentially like an upgrade system.
Okay.
And so you couldn't do those until you bought them.
That makes sense.
Yeah. But yeah, just stuff that like when I played when I was like 13, I just didn't think about, and I was like, ooh, fun, play a game. And so now actually like digging into the deep systems, just a lot of really cool stuff there.
Oh yeah.
And so like this is the same year that like Arkham Asylum came out. And so kind of comparing the two, because like, they're both action adventure games. I wouldn't necessarily put them in the same category just because there is such a heavy stealth component to Assassin's Creed. Not that there isn't in Arkham Asylum. Obviously, there is stealth. But I would not consider Arkham Asylum to be a stealth game. I would just put that as a flat action adventure game. Whereas Assassin's Creed is literally like stealth.
Hide with the people, disappear.
Yeah, exactly. But like, just comparing the two, a lot of the things that they did, which I do think like Asylum took a big leap, but like comparing the two, like Assassin's Creed 2 cooked. They're very close, but like Assassin's Creed 2.
Playing this game and like me realizing how old it is, I'm like, man, they did a really good job with this game.
Yeah,
like it still holds up almost.
Well, it's also just like 2009.
That was
a hell of a year for gaming. Honestly, really that whole generation, because you had 2007. 2007 was arguably one of, if not the biggest year in gaming history. Assassin's Creed, BioShock, Uncharted, Halo 3. What else is there? Crysis, Mass Effect. Damn. All of those came out in 2007. Crazy year. 2009, Assassin's Creed 2, Arkham Asylum, Dragon Age Origins. What else was there? Uncharted 2. Like, just a ton of stuff. No Mass Effect, because Mass Effect 2 came out in January of 2010. But, trying to think of what else there were. I'm sure there's stuff I'm forgetting that's, like, blatantly obvious. I don't think there was a Halo that year.
Minecraft?
Technically, I think the Java edition came out in 2009, but then it technically, like, a lot of people say it launched like in 2011. 2011, okay. But I think the Java version might have launched in 2009. Like the very, very early Bedrock, like, all that.
Yeah.
But I think that was 2009, actually. Yeah, because some people consider it to be a 2010s game, and some people say 2000s because of the 2009.
Okay.
So yeah, it was. Minecraft technically started in 2009. Just like insane year for video games. But yeah, super sick. Just to kind of see, and then again, like as we get into the more complex gameplay mechanics of 2, seeing the evolution from 1 and just how much on a deeper level that they really did rework and optimize the systems.
They step it up and you can really feel it.
You really can. It's just phenomenal time.
And the climbing is so much faster. Holy shit.
So much faster. There's still some physics issues.
Yeah. There's sometimes where like I'll be climbing and I'm like going up and he'll just like there's like a thing right to the like left of him, like an inch. I'm like, you're not like you're making me shiv over like this one spot just to go up. Like you told me you couldn't have reached that, you fucking asshole.
Literally, there'll be times where he will like go reach 10 feet to his left.
Yeah.
And then there's other times where it'll be like an inch over and he's like there's nothing.
Yeah,
there's nothing.
Yeah, I can't see I'm here.
Yeah. So, little things like that. But again, like for like how many games at that time where you could do something like that?
Yeah, you can climb almost anything in that game.
Yeah, like it is pretty revolutionary. So I can't really fault them for having little hitches here and there. But just absolutely phenomenal. But back to the actual training aspect. Ezio does tell Mario that he plans to sail for Spain in 3 days. Because he, when he first gets to the manor, he's like, we just needed to get away. Like, I'm not trying to do anything. Yeah. Where Mario's like, wait, your father didn't tell you?
Yeah, he's like, you're an assassin. You gotta kill people.
Do this. And, yeah. And so, he starts to say, yeah, we're assassins. We have a duty. And he's like, I'm not shit, actually. I'm just going to take my family and go. And, so basically, like, Mario just kind of like, tries to con him. He's like, oh, I'm just going to teach you things to be safe.
Yeah.
And starts teaching him, and is basically banking
you gotta
on,
take care of yourself on the road.
Yeah, exactly. And so, like, but, continues to train him, and is basically just like, I'm just going to make this man into an assassin without him realizing.
He's not going to know.
Yeah, exactly. And so when Ezio is basically like, no, I'm still dipping, Mario kind of throws a little bit of a tantrum. He's like, well, fine. Fuck you, then.
He's like, I'll take care of your problems for you.
Yeah, exactly. So he just basically, like, runs off. And so, like, going after him, he talks to one of his allies who says that Mario left to deal with Vieri, who has been pestering Monteriggioni ever since Ezio got there. It's just been kind of, like,
just because
harassing the
they don't
village.
like him.
Yeah. And so, Mario's went off to deal with Vieri, which pisses off Ezio because he's like, hey, that's my problem.
Yeah, let me kill that guy.
Yeah, exactly. So, you go rush off to try to help out your uncle. And so, before doing that, though, he does go to check in on his family to see Maria obsessing over Petruccio's feathers. And Claudia's like, yeah, that's the only thing she cares about is those stupid goddamn feathers. Meanwhile, I ain't doing shit, and I'm just sitting here and I'm lonesome and I don't know what to do. Where Ezio's basically like, calm down, sissy, it'll be okay, we'll be fine. But then it introduces the mechanic of the feathers that you collect in the game, you can deposit into the chest to make your mother happy, essentially.
This is like the most grindy, probably, collection thing you're going to have to do.
Yes, this is their version of the flags. It's much better. Like I said, it's only 100 versus the 420 flags that glitch and cause you to lose the trophy. I want my trophy, Ubisoft. I will never let it go. And so, anyway. This is grindy. I think, as of right now, I have 6. So, 3 sequences in, not doing super hot. But like I said, like once we hit sequence 13, that's my grind sesh. That's my clean everything up before the last one. And so, like I said, I'm trying to do as much as I can now without straying too far off the beaten path, just because I want to enjoy myself. But I also don't want to spend like 10 hours looking for collectibles in 13. So that's why I've been grabbing anything I can see.
Yeah, like what I do is like if I have to like cross it, like if I go on my map and I look at it, if like, okay, there's a waypoint here, it's like kind of around, I'll get these like 3 waypoints and like, oh, this mission's on my way to this waypoint or whatever. I'll do like, that's kind of how I play. It's like,
right.
It's just like wherever I go, if there's a mission that happens between me, I'll do it.
Yeah, and I'm pretty much doing the exact same thing. So yeah, I've just been, like if anything pops up in my vicinity while I'm doing stuff, I'll be like, oh, hey, because even though this isn't a role-playing game, I do like, role-playing in my, like, the games that I play. And so I usually will put myself into the shoes of the character that I'm in, and I'll do what makes sense for them. I have a lot of fun doing that in games.
Yeah.
And so, like, why would Ezio go to the complete other side of the village for this one thing? It would make more sense for him to just be like, hey, oh yeah, I have to go do this mission on the way. Oh, what's this? And, like, kind of, like, going off of that. It seems like a fun, more natural way to play the game, and that's typically how I play my games. But I also found 3 different glyphs this sequence.
3?
Yeah.
I found some statues, but I didn't find any.
I didn't find any statues. I found the spots, obviously, in Monteriggioni where you can place the statues, but I never actually found statues.
I didn't find the spot where to place the statues. I just found the statues. I found a Pluto statue and a Minerva statue, and I just heard them.
Did you find them in sequence 3 or 4?
3.
Okay.
Because I was just running around, and I like heard the sounds, and I was like,
yeah.
Well, I just heard the music because I don't know if you guys have noticed, but there's audio cues in this game.
Right.
So I just heard like Animus sounds. I was like, "What? Where's that?" I turned on my Eagle Vision, and I was like, got me some statues.
Interesting. Because that's another type of little like mini collectible in 2 is statues, and there's spots where you can place them in Monteriggioni.
And they seem to be Roman God themed.
Very interesting. Indeed. But anyway, yeah, I found 3 different glyphs. There's one in Monteriggioni, and I found a couple in Tuscany. And so, which is like, I believe there's 20 total. And so I think I'm up to 5 now, like 5 or 6. And so, well, I'm making pretty good progress, honestly, compared to the feathers at least. And so I'm pretty happy with that. But like I've been trying to pay attention when I'm going to areas to like look up for the little glyph symbol that pops up when they show the little thing.
I keep forgetting to look for that.
Yeah. But yeah, so I've been working towards that. Been making some headway on those little glyph puzzles. And so trying to figure this out. So going off to Tuscany, Ezio does help Mario and his men assassinate Viero, invading the city and uncovering a meeting between Vieri, his father, and one of the Borgia, who was in Assassin's Creed Lineage, if you watched our bonus episode from right before the season premiere.
And it's the same guy.
Yeah, it's the same guy. Alongside another Templar official. So it's like these 4 guys all meeting up, talking about basically, you know, like really just taking over, you know.
The New World Order, man.
Yeah, so like plotting and kind of just using like different officials for different cities or districts or things like that, and including Viero. Like Viero seems like it reminded me a lot of like Half-Blood Prince of like Draco kind of doing like his like initiation, and they're very similar characters.
Yeah,
like Draco and Vieri.
Except Vieri's a fucking bitch. Exactly.
Like Draco has his little redemption arc. Viero doesn't. He is just a little whiny bitch. But it reminded me a lot of that, of his just kind of being like inducted into the organization that his father was in and whatnot, and kind of like continuing the family legacy type shit. But you know, you uncover that and basically just very violently murder Vieri. Like no class, no grace, to the point that Mario's pissed. And he was like, you need to respect your victim. You need to, you know, treat them with respect if you're taking a life. Where he utters the classic line for the very first time, Requiescat in pace, which is rest in peace in Italian. He says other stuff too, but I ain't going to do all that.
You forgot that we also got throwing knives.
When did we get throwing knives? I know that we had them, but I don't remember when we got them.
Oh, we got them at the... So when...
Is that when you meet Mario?
No.
It is.
It's the beginning. It's the beginning of the assassination on Viero.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you like go to the wall, and then like he's like, "Here, you're gonna need these," and you like climb up the wall, and there's like 2 guards there.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, and like, use the throwing knives to take these guards out, and like that's when you get them.
Yeah, I forgot to mention that. Yeah.
But yeah, I also, when I went up to that tower, I felt pretty badass. I got out my swords, or my sword. I don't know why I said swords. Sword, and I just like killed the 2 bodyguards he had, and then he started coming at me, and I just busted out my assassin's blade, and I ended up doing the counter kill where you just like stab him in the head and then you armbar him. I was like, yeah, fuck that guy.
And then continue to hold him and talk to him after you just put a blade through his head.
Yeah, I was like, he just armbar him to the ground. I was just like, yes, beautiful.
No, I was pretty mad because I was trying to be all stealthy and just do a little assassination. But the second I got up on that platform, he was like, what?
Yeah.
And I was really upset. Like, bro, let me be an assassin. Jesus Christ. Because I took out like 3 of the guards with throwing knives. And then, snuck my way over there. I was trying because, like, in stealth games, I think Dishonored caused this for me. Where now it's like, I'm not really out to kill anybody unless there's a ton of guards. Because a lot of times if you do just kind of go around, if you have to backtrack at all, that can make so much extra work for you because there's still all those enemies, especially if you need to make like a quick escape. It's really annoying. So it does kind of depend on how many guards there are. But if they're fairly well spaced out and I don't, like, they're not going to see me, I just don't even worry about it.
I kill all of them. Kill everybody. They don't deserve to live. They're basically Nazis.
Fair. But, I mean, like, because like, for those who haven't played Dishonored, there's different endings based off of how violent you are. And so it has made me a little bit more of a pacifist in stealthier games where I'm just like, gotta be a nice little boy. But yeah, so I try to be a little stealthy. But yeah, the stealth system is very sensitive in this game, at least thus far. I think it could be just because like some of our abilities aren't really there yet. We're still kind of getting tutorialized, and a lot of it is kind of orchestrated. But yeah, at least thus far in the start, very sensitive.
I do love some of the old like enemy AI though, because like you'll be like almost full of like red, and then you'll like hop into a group of people, and there's like, oh, no one's here, and like walk away.
Yup. Oh well.
You're like, yep, I'm gone now. I just stepped in this crowd of pretty people.
But back at the villa, Mario actually shows Ezio about
They have a party.
Yeah, basically they have a little celebration.
Like,
I can't even read my fucking handwriting, but but he's teaching. It's because I was trying to like write really fast while I take notes, all that. So some of it's a little chicken scratchy. But he teaches Ezio about their family home and basically about that there are codex pages hidden, and basically that it leads to an underground treasure left by someone we know, Altair, who he calls a legendary assassin.
Who, we were. So
yeah, I mean, we can verify.
Are also apparently related to.
Yes. I'm related to Altair.
Well, not
and Ezio Auditore da Firenze.
But yeah.
I tried to say Altair's full name, but I don't remember it well enough. It's something like Iln Ibad or something like that. Ibad, I don't know. I think they start mentioning it a lot more in like Revelations. They don't really do it too much in one outside of like encyclopedias. But yeah, so basically is like, yeah, if you can find any codex pages, have your little buddy Leonardo decode them, because like Ezio brings up that because there was a codex page with the hidden blade in the chest that we had raided of our fathers, and so Leonardo decoded it. And so Mario's like, oh, hey, yeah, use him, like, do all this so we can get this treasure. And then they talk about next steps, which, after killing Vieri and finding out about this plot, Ezio's like, okay, no, we've got to stop these guys. And so Mario does get his way in the end. Like, Ezio's like, yeah, we got to keep going.
Yeah, these guys suck.
yeah. And so they start to plot the hunt for his next target, Vieri's father, which leads into the trivia question for this week. What's that dude's name? Lucas has a little bit of an advantage because he literally played the sequence where he's mentioned a fair bit. But, but yes, what is the name of Vieri's father? That's a trivia question for this week. If you remember, let me know down in the comments below or over on our socials if you're listening, or over on Patreon, because like I said, Patreon is our main communication hub. It was where we communicated about the delay last week. Please, if you haven't already, join that. It is completely free. There are paid options as well, but yeah, it's free $99. And speaking of the Patreon, we're actually directly after this going to record our first bonus episode, which is available exclusively for apprentice tier subscribers. So if you give us 5 schmackers a month, you get access to 1 bonus episode per month, which I have been thinking about. I figure, which I mean, this is a like outside podcast discussion, but I figured why not? I've been thinking about calling them Bonus Plus to distinguish them for our actual bonus episodes. Because again, I want to clarify that our normal bonus episodes about other like outside media from Assassin's Creed are still going to be completely free. We don't want to take away anything that this podcast normally does. We don't want to lock anything behind a paywall. So, these bonus episodes that we're doing, like this week's bonus episode is actually going to be about 2025 and Assassin's Creed, like all the different Assassin's Creed things we can look forward to or potentially look forward to this year in 2025, because it is January, it's the start of the new year. And so this bonus episode is going to be going in depth about all the different Assassin's Creed projects coming this year.
Broader topics that, go on tangents.
Yeah, exactly. And so different things like that. So it's more extended like bonus stuff. It's not going to be anything like nothing. I don't want to say nothing important, because obviously we want to come out with like quality content, but like the main like content of this podcast will always be free to all. Never fear about that. But like I said, you can watch this stuff a day earlier as well in that Apprentice tier, get access to it a day early, as well as then getting this bonus episode that we're about to record. So definitely check it out if you haven't already. If you have no money to give, things are a little tight. One, trust me, I get it. Two, it's okay. Like I said, still go check it out, because it is free to become a member and then get communications with, updates for the podcast, different stuff like that. We, talk about different news, things like that. So it's a really good communication hub for you guys to check out at patreon.com/ReSync podcast. So, but with that, again, you got any general thoughts about this sequence? We're now almost a quarter of the way through the game. How you feeling?
Feeling like this is a really good game still.
Yep.
And like the pacing is fantastic.
Oh yeah.
Like you start off as like literally almost like this like dumb kid, and like that you not at this point you're like all right, I'm about to be an assassin because we gotta kill some fucking dumbasses. Mm-hmm. And you're locking in.
Yeah. Which again, like going like looking at the time period and kind of where we're at here, 2009. Like complex stories in video games, while they have existed, they're very sparse. And this generation as a whole was when like developers were really starting to invest a lot more in their storytelling. But Assassin's Creed 2 is such a great example of complex, layered storytelling going through, especially compared to the first game. Like we've talked about in previous episodes about how, while I do enjoy the story of the first game, it is a little basic. There's not a ton of depth and complexity to it. They'll have twists and turns, but it's all like fairly standard. Whereas 2 has so much more depth and so
Way
much
more
more.
depth.
They flip a lot of stuff on their heads. They innovate. They succeed. There's so much to love about this game.
They set stuff up. There's a ton of foreshadowing. The characters that they introduce, like they come back around.
Mm-hmm.
Like from the first sequence, like you're gonna come into a lot of those characters again.
Mm-hmm. And they do a really good job of like keeping the spirit of the first game alive.
Yes.
Like they do nothing to negate the first game, which is good because, while people had issues with the first game, it wasn't a perfect game, it was still a well-received game. And so rather than trying to excise it, they do a really good job of, creating something that is in all means like far superior. It doesn't discount the first game and continues to kind of uplift it in a way, by, including like Altair, like having him be involved with the Auditores, and in the modern day storyline, continuing that going. They keep the first game relevant. They don't try to erase it, which I very much appreciate. Something that they don't always do, continuing in the franchise.
No.
So, Assassin's Creed 2 is just such a legendary sequel. That is just a spectacular game in its own right, but especially put up against the first game, it's such a great continuation.
It's one of the few games that I would consider is like the sequel is better than the first game.
Yes, absolutely, no question. But yeah, having a ton of fun. It's super exciting. I'm super, super happy. With playing 2 again, and after a long time, because like I said, I've played Assassin's Creed 1 a decent amount, which is kind of crazy because like I said, Assassin's Creed 2 is my favorite. You'd think it'd be the one I played the most, But no,
No, it's because you want to restart the series and you just keep playing the first game over and over again.
Exactly. It's because I have commitment issues. Okay, I mean, we've been doing this for like 9 months now, and you see how far we've gotten. You know, it's hard for.
Yeah, we have a podcast. We actually have a deadline to meet, and we're still not doing it.
Yeah, exactly. And so but it is what it is. It is what it is. But this has been ReSync. We've actually almost hit an hour. This is
a long episode.
Yeah.
Might be our longest.
Well, I remember when we started this thing, we're like, hour-long episodes. We're really bad at keeping to that, but we did a good job this time. A lot of good stuff to talk about, but appreciate everyone who watched, listened, however you consume our content.
Yes.
Like I said, head on over to the Patreon if you will. There's some cool stuff. We're going to have a bonus episode available this week as well. Super exciting. And so I will let you guys know next week all about Sequence 4. Lucas is ready to go.
I can't wait to talk about next week. I already know what happens.
And so very excited. We'll talk to you guys next week. Thank you very much. Remember, nothing is true. Everything is permitted. Ta-ta.